Let's take another look at Psalm 92. Last time we talked about verse 4. You thrill me, Lord, with all you have done for me. Wow. Uh, I want to be thrilled by the Lord. And you know what? There are times when I should be. I'm just not paying enough attention. Isn't it possible, or shouldn't it be possible, that it doesn't have to be an earthquake world record setting thing to thrill me? The psalmist writes, you thrill me, Lord, with all you have done for me. I talked about that. I sing for joy because of what you've done. What God's doing in your life and in my life is sometimes very difficult to discern as it's happening, which I think is why the psalmist says, what you have done. The things that he's done for those to give me joy. I have to look back on them. There's got to be some intention. And then verse 5. Oh Lord, what great works you do. How deep are your thoughts? Great works. I don't know exactly how to phrase this, but there are, for every one of us, God's great works. What's the greatest work God has ever done? Creating the heavens and the earth, all this in 6 days, resting on the seventh. I mean, that's pretty big stuff. Setting the history in motion, where after the fall and the flood, and then Abraham and his lineage and Israel begins, and all of human history, that's a big thing. A great work. For me, the greatest work of all was done on Calvary, and then as Jesus stepped out of the borrowed tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. There is no greater work. Well, I don't think there is, on every level, and especially on a personal level. Well, yeah, I wouldn't be here without creation. I'll give you that. But I would have nothing but here, or worse than here, if it weren't for what God did when, in the form of Jesus, he surrendered his life. And then on that Sunday morning, he rose from the grave. That's the greatest work of all. Being saved is I guess I'd say it's a fact that is easily overlooked. Here's what I mean. I don't think you have to just, set an alarm on your smartwatch and every 20 minutes it beeps you to say, oh, you gotta think about, you're saved. I don't know. And obviously that would only happen in our day. The concept I see here is God's greatest works can go, maybe not unnoticed, but unmentioned and unthanked. Well, oh Lord, the psalmist writes in verse 5, what great works you do. You don't notice them unless you're looking for them. There's a little bit of a psychological proverb that says you see what you're looking for. Well, don't know if this is true of you, but I confess it's true of me. I need to look for the works of God. What great works you do. I'm not really a nature boy. I'm not a big hiker. I don't have anything against it, but I'm not one. I gave up camping probably 40 years ago now. I don't hunt, although it's okay. I have friends that do. I have nothing against hunting. I guess what I'm saying is I love nature, but I'm not an outdoorsman. I've shared this before, but I'll just say it again because it fits here. We have a wonderful, gorgeous, at certain times of day, breathtaking natural wonder within about a 30-minute drive of our house here in Las Vegas. It's called Red Rock Canyon. I don't do it every week. I don't even do it every month, but every so often I get in the car and I drive out, and I don't have an agenda. I might put, most of the time I will put on some kind of Christian music that I resonate with, and the speed limit's like 25, and I'll be way under the speed limit driving around the loop. I think it's 13 or 14 miles. I just go slow and I try to drink in the beauty. All right. Well, a couple of times ago when I did this, I was looking at it. It's if you ever get to be in Las Vegas, skip something on the Strip in order to get out to Red Rock Canyon. It's just gorgeous, and I thought a little bit of a prayer, Lord, why did you do this? Because it's not, to my knowledge, there's nothing essential about how beautiful this is. I mean, the world would still go on as it does, I think, without it. And the thought occurred to me, I wonder if Jesus were in the passenger seat, or more appropriately, if I were in the passenger seat and Jesus was behind the wheel. I asked that question. I think I know what he would say. I did it for you. I believe that. I don't have a chapter and verse to, validate it. And you don't have to believe it, but I do believe God made the world in such a way that there is beauty. And I mean, there's some places that are just desolate, but like Death Valley, don't go there in July, okay? You don't want to be there. But even the time it's not like I've been there dozens of times, but I mean, it's desert. It's the hottest place in our country. Not the hottest place on earth, I don't think, by probably a stretch, but even there, the vastness of this barren desert is beauty to me. Well, okay. What great works you do. The earth sings out the greatness of God. I think there's another psalm that talks about that. And so does your life and mine. I've said this a bunch of times in the last few days. You got to go back intentionally and reflect on the great things that God has done in our lives. Okay, the second part of that is, how deep are your thoughts? I think I first read this in a Dallas Willard book, but the idea is Jesus was the smartest man who has ever lived, and the idea in that is no person in all of history, not even AI, will have an idea that God didn't already have. Essentially what science is, in my opinion, is discovering what God has done. Well, when I contemplate deep thinking, I have some friends and acquaintances that are way deeper thinkers than me. And I kind of, when I'm around them, it's a good thing. My brain gets stretched. I've read books by men I think were tremendously deep thinkers. I said it gobs of times before, but my favorite of these guys is C.S. Lewis. The man had deep thoughts. Think of the deepest thinker you know. I mean, that's the film on the top of the depths of the ocean compared to how deeply God thinks. I think what the psalmist was saying is, I can't comprehend a being who knows everything. Well, I'm kind of glad that the God I worship, his thoughts are deep, way deeper than mine. So deep, so much deeper than mine. There are many of his thoughts I will never understand until I cross Death's River. Then he goes on in verse 6, only a simpleton would not know, only a fool would not understand this. Though the wicked sprout like weeds and evildoers flourish, they will be destroyed forever. I think what he's setting up here is kind of a logistical path, a path of logic that says God is the magnificent worker, doer in the world and in our lives. And his deep thoughts are so far beyond ours. We're planets apart. And on the basis of that, if you really look at life, you gotta be an idiot to not understand this part. Well, it seems like there's a disconnect. Though the wicked sprout like weeds and evildoers flourish, they will be destroyed forever. Well, here's why that connects. Only an idiot would observe what our God has done and continues to do and not realize he not only is capable, but he is willing, and he will bring evil doing to destruction. I'm not sure as Americans we get this very, very well, depending on how and when you were educated, because basically in the last 60 years education has pretty much pushed God clear out of the picture. But if you rely on your own thought as you look around, it becomes more and more and more clear to me that the God who did this, he can take care of evildoers, even if the wicked sprout like weeds and evildoers flourish. They will be destroyed forever. As I'm recording this, the war on the Gaza Strip between Hamas and Israel continues to be a horror. Those evildoers, and I'll just, if this offends you, sorry, not sorry, but Hamas is evil. And I believe, even though they sprouted like weeds and they appear to flourish, they have a shelf life and it will come to an end. God may do it through Israel, but he may do it in a whole new way. but they will be destroyed out of God's divinity, out of his plan, out of his providence. Well, getting political, so I better shut up. I'll see you next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.